If a card is reversed or we have a double card, okay. Ooh. And then weaving them into the loon are my book spread for my May. Oh my god, I can't speak. These are the 5 cards. So hi everybody, it's Bells. Welcome back to my channel. It is the May Tarot TBR. Hooray. I think the cards knew I needed to like do some mood reading rather than stick to a very stringent, very large TBR like I have in the last couple of months. We're gonna be covering 5 stories instead of like the 8 or 10 or whatever it's been over the last couple of months, which I'm pretty excited for. I'm also very excited with the direction that my channel is going. There are so many of you here now and it's so exciting. I have some new ideas up my sleeve for this channel, so if you don't want to miss anything, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the little notification bell, like this video, and let's bring on the books, shall we? So as always, I am obsessed with my Yoshi Yoshitani tarot card deck. These videos would not be what they are without it, and I love the artwork. I love everything about this deck. While we're going through this little shuffle, I'll give you a little brief update on the rules. So each card equals 1 book. I pull a minimum of 5 cards because I like to plan out at least 5 books for my month. And if a card shows up as reversed or we have 2 of the same numbers in the minor arcana, I pick up another card to add another book to my list. If you want to play this game for yourself, I have the Google Doc linked in the description with all of the rules and all of the prompts and everything. I know some of you do play along with me every month, and that is so cool and so exciting, and I love it. The first card that I picked was the Hierophant, which is one we haven't seen before, which is such a lovely way to start this off. So the story that's represented here is the White Buffalo Woman. So this is a prophecy of the Lakota tribe. It starts with 2 warriors who are out hunting buffalo. They see a white buffalo calf come towards them that then transforms into a beautiful young Native American woman. One of the warriors thought about taking advantage of her. Woo. And she beckoned him to come forward, and when he did, a black cloud came over his body, and when it disappeared, he was left with no flesh or blood. Just a pile of bones. So you gotta nip that right in the bud. The other warrior fell to his knees and prayed, and she told him that in 4 days she would be back with a sacred bundle for his community and to prepare for her arrival. So he did that. He goes home, gathers the elders, and prepares for her return. So after 4 days, she does come back with the bundle, which holds the sacred white buffalo calf pipe. When she is with their community, she teaches them 7 sacred ceremonies for purification, naming, healing, adoption, marriage, the vision quest, and the Sundance ceremony. She also teaches them songs and traditional ways and instructed them that as long as they perform those ceremonies, they would remain caretakers and guardians of their sacred land. And as long as they take care of the sacred bundle, the white buffalo calf pipe, and respected their land, their people would never die. When she left, she said that she would one day return for the white buffalo calf pipe, and that actual pipe is kept on the Cheyenne reservation in South Dakota, which I think is cool. The Hierophant card itself represents a traditional or already established set of spiritual values and usually relates to religion. So it's kind of suggesting that you should learn the fundamental points of a particular field before deciding anything, or if you are really knowledgeable in a particular field, you might be sharing your knowledge or being pushed to share that knowledge in a really like structured way. It's mostly about identifying with others and creating a really structured way of thinking that will make you like want to learn more in the future. The prompt for the Hierophant card is a literary book where you get extra points if you think you will learn something while you read it. That could literally mean anything. Like, I like to think of No Heaven for Good Boys. I didn't know anything about the Taliban before I read that book, and after the book I learned something about the Taliban. The book that I did pick for this was 5 Little Indians by Michelle Good. This book is about 5 Indigenous teenagers who are released from a residential school. The book basically follows them as they learn to handle their respective traumas in various ways as they grow together and apart and try to find a way to move forward. This book has been getting a lot of buzz, especially up here in Canada. I've been really enjoying learning about other cultures in my reading recently. Like, I just finished A Burning by Megha Majumdar. I'm just itching for more books like that. This couldn't have come at a better time, and while I think it's gonna be really fucking depressing, I'm like genuinely excited to pick up this book. So that was the Hierophant. The next card I picked up was the Chariot, which we have seen before. The story represented here is a Norwegian fairy tale called The Three Princesses of Whiteland. And like the gist of it is it basically follows this boy who embarks on a bunch of different adventures with a bunch of very specific rules that he has to follow in order to get good luck and like achieve a happy ever after. How this starts is a fisherman who works for the king caught absolutely nothing one day. And when the day was nearing its end, a head bobbed out of the water, offering a bunch of fish for whatever his wife had under her girdle. Already you can guess where this is going, and like who on earth just says yes to giving away whatever your wife has under their girdle? The girdle is like a thing that goes under your stomach. There's not very many things that will go under there. But he says yes because he has a job to do and needs to like feed his family and stuff. But when he gets home, his wife said that she's pregnant. That was what was under her girdle. So the king soon learned of their problem and promised to raise the child himself. Perhaps maybe he, with his all-powerful kingliness, could shield the boy from his fate. But when the boy grew up, one day he just begged to spend the day fishing with his real father, and he got his way. The second he got in that boat, it just took off until he eventually landed on some mysterious island called Whiteland. He met an old man, and the old man told the boy that he would meet 3 princesses who were stuck in the sand, like all the way heads up, like how you bury friends who get drunk in the beach in the sand. And if the boy would only talk to the 3rd one and ignored the other 2, he would have good luck. So the boy did so, and the princess said that 3 trolls had imprisoned her and her sisters. And if he went up to the castle on the hill and let the trolls basically beat him up 3 nights in a row, the princesses would be freed. He does that, he frees the princesses, and he marries the youngest, or takes the youngest as his queen. He doesn't actually marry her yet. Much later on, they've been living together for a while, he wants to go see his family. The princess doesn't love the idea, but she's like, okay, but you can only do what your father asks you to do, not what your mother asks you to do. And then she gives him a ring that will grant him 2 wishes, one to take him to his family and one to take him home. So when he was home, his mother wanted to show him to the king who had raised him. Though he said no, she soon got her way. And when he shows up, the king is all jealous of how the boy was stronger and braver than he was. And so he started playing the "my horse is bigger than your horse" game, saying that his queen is much prettier than the boy's and that he wanted to see the boy's queen, the boy's princess, to compare women, which is exactly what we want out of our rulers in this world. The boy makes the mistake of saying out loud that he wishes the princess were there with him so that he could show the king just how gorgeous she was. The ring grants the wish, and the princess shows up and is understandably pissed and basically says, "Fuck you, I'm going home without you," and takes the ring with her. The boy was very distraught, and so he starts looking for a way to get back to Whiteland, eventually happening on another old man who sends him on another quest for a bunch of other magical objects that eventually take him home to Whiteland, and the princess was happy to see him. She had missed him, and they have a true wedding and live happily ever after. I don't know if I love this story. It is a fairy tale, so like obviously the moral of this story is listen to what people tell you to do. You'll get your good luck, you'll get your happy ending. This is how society gets you to be a factory worker. Anyway, the Chariot as a card. The Chariot is a card of strength and determination. So you have made choices with the Lover's card, which comes right before this, and now you get to act on those choices. This is a very encouraging card. You get to work on your goals, and it suggests that you will be successful as long as you stay focused, no matter what challenges come your way. So be courageous, be bold, set your boundaries, start your adventure. So what best prompt for this card than a book about going on an adventure? And what better book could there be for going on an adventure than The Hobbit? I have been wanting to reread this book for a long time because I want to reread Lord of the Rings, but I haven't read The Hobbit since I was like a kid. This is actually my childhood copy. This is the most iconic adventure tale, the story of Bilbo on his quest to help Gandalf and the dwarves, and is also the beginning of the most iconic fantasy series of all time. I'm just really excited to reread this, and I wanted something that like gave me that feeling of nostalgia, so that is the book that I picked for the Chariot. Now the next card, boy, this card loves coming up in our spreads, is the Lovers. And the story here is Beauty and the Beast. The actual story of Beauty and the Beast is a little more long-winded, but the gist of it is that an ugly fairy curses the Beast for not being seduced by her. And Beauty's father is like a merchant, and he goes on an adventure, loses all of his money, and on his way home, he stops at the Beast's castle and steals something. It changes depending on what story you read. Sometimes it's a rose, sometimes it's like something from inside the actual castle. But the Beast catches him, and Beauty's father is told that if he wants to stay alive, he will have to bring one of his daughters in exchange. He goes home, tells his daughters of his plight, and Beauty offers to go, and it's great. She has a great time. She lives a super opulent lifestyle. She is catered on by all the servants, and she slowly falls in love with the Beast while she's there. After a few months, she asks him to go home so that she can visit her family, and he says yes, but that he will die of grief if she stays for too long or leaves him completely. Which is a little dramatic and a little gaslighting, but that's fine. But when she gets home, she has like two stepsisters, like think Cinderella's stepsisters, and they basically trap her inside the house so she can't go back to the Beast. And so by the time she escapes, he is actually dying. She realizes that she loves him, she professes her love, they kiss, happily ever after. Also, the funniest thing about this story is that the ugly stepsisters are turned into statues to sit at the front of Beast's castle to then watch Beauty have a wonderful, fantastic life for the rest of their days. I guess they're just alive in these statues. I think that's horribly dark and very funny. The Lovers is a card of communication, honesty, meaningful relationships. It's really suggesting that you work on being really clear about your values and your beliefs, because the heart of this card, the point of this card is choice. Choose who you want to be, how you connect with others, what you will and won't stand for, etc. You're essentially being prompted to choose the best version of yourself and learn who that person is, which is cool. So the prompt that I have for the Lovers is a romance that you're super excited to read. And so I picked for this one The Beautiful Ones by my queen, Silvia Moreno Garcia. So Silvia Moreno Garcia dabbles in like a bunch of different genres in each of her books, which is part of why I really love her writing. So this is her take on a fantastical historical romance about a woman who's trying to make it in high society, but is having a difficult time because she has telekinetic powers. Which just sounds like so much fun. And she winds up falling for like a really famous telekinetic performer who is using her to get to his ex. Drama ensues. I'm just like really excited. I love her writing. I love her books. I want to read everything she's ever read. I want to read everything she's ever written. I guess everything she's ever read. I assume she has good taste. Anyway, that's the book that I picked for the Lovers. The next card that came up in the spread was the Five of Wands. The figures represented here are the Pandavas, which are characters that are like central to the Sanskrit epic poem Mahabharata. The Pandavas actually refers to the 5 acknowledged sons of, I'm gonna go with Pandu, who are all central to this epic poem. And so the 5 brothers are scandalized, enslaved, and exiled by their cousins, and eventually wage war on their extended family that they eventually win at like a really, really high, heavy cost. In some stories, it's suggested that they go to hell for it. They do a lot of really horrible things in war. So to atone for their sins during the war, the brothers climb the Himalayan mountains, and 4 of them die there. Only one brother, Yudhishthira, reaches the summit and is able to ascend to the afterlife. One article that I found about this actually said that the 5 brothers represent the necessary 5 qualities that every person should have. It didn't elaborate on what they should have them for. The first brother, Yudhishthira, indicates the quality of like being balanced and unbiased when facing a problem. Arjuna symbolizes focus. Bhima represents inner strength. Nakul means to be neutral in life, and Sadeva represents the welfare of all. So these are all the things that you should be considering and focusing on in your growth as a person, which I think is a cool concept. So the card, the Five of Wands, indicates that you are in the middle of a competition with others of some shape or form, and you fighting the opposition, fighting those challenges is impacting your ability to like move forward with your goals. So this card might come up when you need to be reminded to hear others out or agree to disagree, focus on the final outcome, something in that vein. It also encourages an enthusiastic approach to change. That change is coming whether you want it or not. So work with your team, find a way to get on the same page. The prompt that I have for 5 cards is a book that is over 500 pages, and for Wands, it is something adventurous or inspiring. And so I picked a book I've been waiting to read for a long time, and that is The Book of Accidents by Chuck Wendig. This is a haunted house story, kind of, about a boy who makes a friend who is very interested in dark magic, and they just moved into a house that has seen a lot of trauma, and there's like some kind of monster around. I've been told that it's very similar in tone and style to Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky, which I have right here, and was one of my favorite books of last year. So I'm so pumped to read this. I've been waiting to read this for a while. I'm biting the bullet. I'm very excited. That is the book that I picked for the Five of Wands. The last card that came up in this spread was the Three of Swords, which we've seen a couple of times before. The story represented here is the crane wife. The typical version of this Japanese folktale is that a poor man finds an injured crane on his doorstep. He takes it in, nurses it back to health, and when he releases the crane, a woman appears at his doorstep and he falls in love with her and they marry. Because they need money, the woman offers to weave some really beautiful clothes that he can sell at the market, but only if he agrees never to watch her making them. They sell them, they make a lot of money, they live a very comfortable life, but the man starts insisting that she makes more and more clothing. So as she makes more clothing, her health starts declining, but the man's greed is getting higher and higher. It's getting worse. He wants more. So one day, he finally just snoops to see how she makes the silk, how she makes the clothes, and discovers that at the loom is a crane literally plucking feathers out of its own body and then weaving them into the loom to make the clothes. So the crane, once she sees him, flies away and never returns. The Three of Swords is a card usually comes up when you are feeling hurt or disappointed, maybe betrayed. It's about expressing that sadness and that grief, no matter how painful those feelings might be, and allowing those emotions to pass so that you can continue moving forward. The prompt that I have for the three cards is contemporary fiction, and for sword cards, we're looking for something informative or challenging. And so I am going to finally read My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. I've been avoiding this book because I know it's going to make me really uncomfortable. This is a story about a girl, Vanessa, who when she is 15 has an affair with her 42-year-old English teacher. 17 years later, that same teacher is accused of sexual abuse, and she has to decide whether or not to come forward about her own experience. She has to reconcile her idea of that relationship with the fact that she may have been groomed. It's gonna be dark. It's gonna be dark, but like I said, I'm kind of itching to read books about these heavier topics, about these heavier things. This is a book I've been wanting to read for a long time and just was never super comfortable with, just not like ready for it. And I think you do have to be ready to read something like this. And I think I'm ready and I'm prepared for the topics of this book. And so I'm really excited to finally read it and be able to join the conversation about this book. That's it. Those are the 5 cards that I picked for my May Tarot TBR. Thanks so much for sticking around. I will put the playlist of all the other Tarot TBRs right here if you want to watch more of them. I think it's going to be a really good month of reading. I hope you guys also have a fantastic reading month. Tell me what you're reading in the comments. I always love to know, and I will see you guys all next week. Bye!